Next up is a fireside with Greg Sloyer, Industry Principal Manufacturing at Snowflake. And we're talking enhancing the manufacturing lifecycle, breaking down data silos for improved quality and throughput. That's our title. So, hi Greg, how are you? Great to speak to you again.
Good, Neil. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. Really good. It's been a fantastic show so far. And it's been one of those ones where I've had so many questions come in. I'm actually having to round some up together in groups. So a very engaged audience today, which, well, it makes my job easier. So I'm very happy with that. So anyway, we've got about 20 minutes or so. So let's crack into this, Greg, if we can. In the intro, I was mentioning about data silos. For you, what are the biggest ones within manufacturing today?
So manufacturers, let's start out. Manufacturers in many organizations have data silos, and this is from the legacy systems capabilities or application capabilities over the years, if not decades, started that way of designing things. So we still see and find data silos across a number of different areas. In terms of manufacturing, I'll say the biggest one that is still out there where organizations are still on their journey, let's say, to continue to break down these silos is in the separation of IT systems, so your traditional ERPs and transaction types of system that help keep the business running and all the back office operations, things like that, as to OT systems, operational technology. These are the systems that are driving the manufacturing sites, the physical machines. And we're still seeing, folks and organizations on that journey to bring those sets of data together, because they're generally different organizations, different types of data, transaction versus more time series or sensor data types of things. So in terms of the I'll say the more common but unique to manufacturing, it's really that separation of IT and OT types data. And this is, the journey through this are the things that are bringing Industry 4.0 or smart manufacturing or digitalizing your environment, your manufacturing environment, your supply chain. Those are really the outcomes of as you start pulling and breaking down those silos and integrating that data with the platforms that are available now. That's really where we're seeing manufacturers going and where those silos still exist, from the legacy standpoint.
Because it seems like an incredibly almost intimidating task, trying to bring together all of these different data sources. As you say, they don't all match up, they're very different. And if you're wanting to unlock the potential of optimization, the benefits of proper digital transformation, it's an essential part of that. What strategies could organizations take for you to really effectively integrate these different sources of data?
Great question. And there's a number of different ways. What I've seen work effectively and that organizations really get to take advantage of is as you're looking to integrate that data, bring that data together, break down those silos. There's quality, data quality. So it's not just, we're going to put the data in a new system. It's really looking at that data, how it's being used. This is key. So, the idea is not to integrate data for the sake of integrating it or break down the silos just to be able to say you broke down silos and have all the data in one spot. It's really to look at bringing that data together, prioritizing the which data is coming together first, ideally driven by business requirements, objectives of the company, in some cases regulatory requirements, things like that are driving the decisions on how and when to bring that data together to really start integrating that process. Applications come and go. We see that happen and change over the years. Even if you really like a certain application on top of that data, as you have mergers and acquisitions, you're building or you're inheriting, let's say, new applications into that process. But the data foundation layer, that's going to be critical throughout this process. So the governance prioritizing based on business requirements. Don't take it from the build it and they will come kind of strategy, which is just throw it all in one spot and hopefully the business knows what to do with it. It's really having that methodical approach that does not mean wait to establish value until the end. That means build it with that plan and that process. Those tend to be more successful, and you sort of avoid a lot of shadow IT and the business going out beyond and around things to create pockets of data again, or to try and establish value outside of that well-governed oiled machine that's driving to that integrated data set.
Well, let's really double click on how cloud technology plays a part on this. For you, how can it really help to break down those silos? Why is it so key in doing that?
So in terms of why, when you think of broader supply chains, and you had a advertisement just before coming in, and the gentleman spoke of global supply chains and getting larger and things like that. So that visibility, making decisions, driving the business from the standpoint of data and analytics is becoming more and more critical because of these very complex systems. And I mean that from a supply chain process or a manufacturing process. And it's not just that they weren't complex before and now they're complex now. Global supply chains, which we started seeing over the last several decades, where you're stretching those to the limit. You may have sources from Asia Pacific or South America bringing components to Europe, then sending materials or sending finished goods to North America. Those complex movements of product, understanding the data, understanding the impacts, all require a lot of data and analytics to help support, improve those processes, not just for the movement of the goods and the planning of them, but also how it impacts manufacturing and the production process. We see, variability in supply. How does that impact the manufacturing process? And where I start getting really excited today is with so many products being connected, generating their own data for usage or control codes. And that's anywhere from automobiles and wind turbines and washing machines kind of thing, sending data back, incorporating that all into that visibility so that you can understand not just quality and improvements in throughput within the plant, but the longer term aspects. So the value there is in, again, quality and throughput improvement within the manufacturing facility. It could be in product design. It's going to certainly, work towards customer service and customer experience and those types of applications. So I think there's a number of ways to really establish value, not just in sort of cost pressures of supply chain, things like that, but it's also linked throughout from supply to customer service as really the benefits as you start bringing all of that data together.
Well, we've been talking a lot about process and, as you say, about bringing the data together, and having someone on the show of your experience, it'd be remiss of me not to take things back to the start a little bit. What would your advice be to an organisation who are maybe very early on in their data journey? They're wanting to get their data ducks in a row, if, so to speak, really, accelerate their digital transformation. Where on earth do you start? You must work with so many different people who've been early on in that journey. Is day one, session one, stick an arm around them and say, don't worry, we're going to be okay? Because it's pretty intimidating. Where do you start?
There's no one answer. And that's a typical consulting type of answer. There's not a simple plug and play roadmap. What there are looking at, again, those business requirements. What's going to drive early value so that you're not on a 2 or a 3 or a whatever year journey, and you're waiting until the end until value starts being established. You need to be working through that process, and sometimes that's driven by organizations with multiple ERPs, and getting that visibility of what did I spend last month globally on certain suppliers? What did I sell last month to my global or my major customers? When there are multiple ERPs involved, those questions are not as easy to understand and help drive that business. It's not that, in the small businesses that you can sort of do that on a spreadsheet when you've got these global sales organizations or global purchasing organizations. So that may be where I see it more of a common way to start is, I'll say, in those ERP systems. For others, though, if the issues are more in you've got several dozen or 100 plus 200 plus manufacturing facilities around the world, and you're really in that engineering organization that is driving decisions on where to make product, how to make it, increasing that throughput, really working on those capital investments within the manufacturing facilities. Then it may be on the OT side, the operational technology side, where that journey begins, and bringing in that data. And it's not just one or the other. These, you can be doing these in parallel, but have that strategy. Have that at the end of this, we're going to have the view across our manufacturing facilities, no matter if they've got dozens of different types of systems. I jokingly say with many organizations I work with that if you've got 50 facilities, you probably have 48 different MES and MRO and all these three-letter acronym systems out there, because they grew up under acquisitions and mergers and things like that, and there wasn't this consolidation process. But bringing that and getting that visibility may be the best starting point within your organization. So it's not a one size fits all. You need to be looking at the business priorities and where the pain or where the opportunities lie in solving those kinds of problems.
Absolutely, Greg. That's great advice. I'd like to really focus in, though, on, from your experience, of the main areas that manufacturers are really using data and advanced analytics to really improve their manufacturing processes. Which are the main hotspots that you're seeing the most impact?
This is where I think it gets really exciting, not just for the past couple of years, but where we're going with all this available technology and advanced analytics. And I'm sure most of your audience has heard about the uses of AI and Gen AI and all those capabilities. And there's still a lot to do even outside of Gen AI in terms of how to improve and really look at the manufacturing processes. I think, historically, because the data was separate, because you didn't have the platforms and the speed capable, it was limiting the advanced analytics in what it could do. Or really being able to take advantage of those. I think we've broken down a lot of those barriers. So, the integrated data, the scale and flexibility and speed of being able to use the cloud to now take advantage of these advanced analytics, that's been a major breakthrough the past, I'll say, decade or so. I think in terms of where we're seeing different types of analytics on the shop floor. So in your manufacturing facilities, within a given facility, it's going to be looking at quality and yield, predictive maintenance tend to be the key areas where you're seeing machine learning really being applied, because in the complex manufacturing, when you've got 10s, 20s, 30 steps or more. When you get to high tech, it could be 1,000 steps, let's say. Within a manufacturing process, there's just too many variables impacting quality or yield and throughput, or even predictive maintenance of an asset to be able to do that by hand or looking at it, you know, not holistically, but to really take advantage of all of that data to be able to look at those variables, prioritize and things like that. That's where machine learning is really taking off. And that's, when I say machine learning and people go, well, can you use Gen AI for that? And there's a yes and a no answer there. And this is going to be true for any of these advanced analytics I talk about. There's the right tool for the right type of use case or the right job, let's say. And as a core, let's say, mathematical engine that the data scientists are going to apply, machine learning for quality and yield and predictive maintenance, that component of AI is typically what we see. Now, there's other ways, there's statistical methods and things like that, but and everybody's on a journey, and the complexity of the methods is going to depend on your organization, the organization's capabilities, the amount of data, the types of data you have. But where we're seeing the industry is really machine learning for those types of methods. That does not exclude using Gen AI as part of that process, either in building some of those models or the front ends, let's say, or looking at the code from that perspective, and Gen AI is being used there. And we're also seeing now more Gen AI on top of those types of methods as sort of the interface with the users. So it's not a separation; it's just how different methods are being applied. There's a lot of text, for example, out there, and that's where we're seeing more of the Gen AI type of large language models being developed and applied, which again is really exciting. Where you had stacks of manuals and documents and historical maintenance records or customer service records, things like that, nearly impossible for humans to go through, multiple years and stacks of and volumes of material to try and address, diagnosing root cause and problems and things like that. Gen AI is great for traversing, let's say, all of that material, providing recommendations, and that's how we're seeing it, from the shop floor on that side, in terms of some of these even more advanced capabilities and techniques on top of all that data. From a supply chain perspective, you're seeing, forecasting is typically the main use case, and that's been early on from machine learning and more of the advanced methods. Again, in a lot of cases, Gen AI is being put on top of those traditional machine learning methods as a way for users to interact and understand the models better, or the output or the recommendations for those. And then, COVID was not the start and creation of all supply chain problems, but it certainly put it in the major news services of the world, which, helped show the complexity and the visibility and the problems with supply chains. But we're seeing the supply risk, which has really been a priority for the last number of years, especially with the global supply chains and impacts, whether it was COVID or port shutting down or, Suez or Panama Canal lowering and the difficulties in moving product and all those logistics things. But we're seeing supply risk and even Gen AI being applied because of there's a lot of text, there's a lot of news articles, things like that, to really understand how best to make decisions and recommendations in that area. So really exciting capabilities that are continuing to grow and expand use across the different areas of the manufacturing process.
Absolutely, a very exciting time, and as you said, the right technology for the right task. Well, Greg, I'm afraid we are up on time. There are so many other things I wanted to go into. I could talk to you all afternoon, a man of your experience and expertise, but I'm afraid we are out of time. So, Greg Sloyer, thank you so much for joining us here at Manufacturing and Mobility Live.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Always a
Have
pleasure.
a great day.
You too. Cheers, Greg. Thank you.